3,000 feet beneath the surface of the ocean. Sunlight stopped existing about half a mile ago. Not dim, gone. The water is just above freezing, and the pressure is roughly 1,500 pounds on every square inch of surface, enough to fold an unreinforced steel cylinder in on itself. And in this water, something the length of a bus is hunting in total darkness. Its heart has slowed. Blood has been pulled back from the skin, the fins, the digestive system, and redirected to the brain and the swimming muscles. Its lungs are not full of air. They have deliberately collapsed. It has not taken a breath in 40 minutes, and it is not in any distress about that. Then it fires. A single click, and then a rapid train of them, hammering out through the black. These are the loudest sounds produced by any animal on Earth, and they are not being made to communicate. They are being made to see. Each click travels outward, strikes something, and comes back. And out of that returning echo, the whale assembles a picture. Not a vague sense of presence, but a three-dimensional map of shape, size, distance, and internal density. Something is down there, something soft-bodied and moving. Here is the part worth pausing on before we go any further. That animal is a mammal. It is warm-blooded. It breathes air. It gives birth to live young and nurses them with milk. It is structurally the same category of creature as a dog or a horse or you. So how does a mammal end up living in a place where a submarine would be crushed, and why do we still know so little about how it does it? Because here is the strangest fact about sperm whales. It is not their size, or their brain, or their voice. It is how little we have actually seen. They spend most of their lives below 3,000 feet, in a zone human beings have visited fewer times than we have visited the surface of the moon. We study lions because we can sit in a vehicle and watch them. Sperm whales we study by proxy, by sound recordings, by tags that fall off after a day, by scars. For an animal that can weigh 45 tons, they are effectively invisible. For most of the 20th century, we did not even know whether they slept. How do you keep an animal that big a secret for that long? Start with the giant squid, because it is the first thing everyone thinks of, and it is mostly wrong. Yes, it happens. Giant squid beaks have been recovered from sperm whale stomachs. So have the beaks of the colossal squid, whose tentacles carry not just suckers, but rotating hooks. And yes, sperm whales carry circular scars on their heads and flanks, sometimes the width of a dinner plate, where a squid's toothed sucker rings dragged across living skin. But the image of a whale locked in some titanic jewel with a monster is not what the diet data shows. What the diet data shows is volume. A sperm whale eats about 3% of its body weight every single day, and the overwhelming majority of it is medium-sized, deep-water squid. Animals a foot or two long, taken not in one epic struggle, but by the 100, dive after dive. Which is, if anything, more impressive. The giant squid is not the challenge. It is an outlier. The actual achievement is a 40-ton, air-breathing, mammal-locating, tracking and swallowing hundreds of small, fast-moving animals per day in absolute darkness, half a mile down on a single breath. And there is a detail in that which almost nobody mentions. Those scars, the ones the old whalers saw and used to invent sea monsters, mostly come from squid that lost. They are not wounds from a fair fight. They are the marks left by prey. So what does an animal need in order to hunt like that? Almost every part of a sperm whale is an answer to a problem that would kill any other mammal. A human diver's problem at depth is nitrogen. Under pressure, it dissolves into the blood, and on ascent, it comes out as bubbles, the bends. Sperm whales solve this by getting rid of the air entirely. On descent, their lungs collapse. Nothing dissolves because nothing is available to dissolve. Which raises the obvious question: if the lungs are empty, what is it breathing? It is not. It is running on stored oxygen, and the storage is not in the lungs at all. Their blood carries far more hemoglobin than ours, and their muscle is saturated with an oxygen-binding protein at concentrations high enough to turn the flesh nearly black. The whale does not dive with a tank of air. It dives with oxygen locked into every fiber of its body. The ribs do not resist the pressure. They bend with it, letting the chest cavity compress rather than shatter. The heartbeat drops away, and the animal enters a controlled metabolic shutdown for the length of the dive. And then the head. That enormous blunt forehead, in a large male, 16 to 20 feet of it, roughly a third of the whole animal, is not skull. Most of it is the spermaceti organ, filled with up to a ton of waxy oil, and a second fatty body called the junk, arranged in stacked lenses. This is the sound system. A click is generated at the front of the head, travels backward through the spermaceti, reflects off an air sac against the skull, passes forward through the junk, which focuses it like a lens, and exits as a narrow, forward-pointing beam. The whale's entire face is a sonar array, and the click it produces registers at up to 230 decibels underwater. Now, that number gets abused constantly, so let us be precise, because the honest version is more interesting than the exaggeration. Underwater decibels use a different reference point than the decibels you know from air. You cannot compare 230 underwater to 140 for a jet engine and conclude the whale is 1,000 times louder. That is a unit error. Converted properly, the click sits around 170 decibels in air-equivalent terms, which still makes it, by a comfortable margin, the loudest sound any animal on this planet produces. Louder than a rifle shot next to your ear. Divers who have been close describe not hearing it, but feeling it, a physical pressure passing through the chest. And it is a focused beam, aimed. Which is where the question stops being about anatomy. What is it like to build your entire picture of the world out of sound? For a long time, nobody knew whether sperm whales slept at all. Every other whale and dolphin studied kept half its brain awake and kept swimming. Then, in 2008, researchers led by Patrick Miller published something in the journal current biology that people did not believe at first. Sperm whales sleep vertically. They hang nose up or nose down, motionless, just below the surface, in loose groups. A scattered forest of grey pillars, suspended in open water, drifting with the current, not swimming, not surfacing, not, as far as the instruments could tell, doing anything at all. The tagged animals spent only about 7% of their time in this state, in bouts of 10 to 20 minutes, one of the shortest sleep budgets recorded in any mammal. And here is the detail that turns it strange. Some of these whales appear to be fully unresponsive. In the original study, a vessel drifted into physical contact with a resting whale, and only then did it wake. An animal that was hunted to the brink of extinction for 2 centuries switches itself off completely, floating in open water, near the surface, in daylight. Then, in July of 2026, a team from St. Andrews and the University of Neuchâtel published a follow-up in the Journal of Experimental Biology that answered a question nobody had thought to ask. How does a positively buoyant body stay put? It should not. As a resting whale drifts upward, the gas inside it expands, and it should be pushed to the surface and rolled by the waves. Suction cup tags on 42 whales off the Lofoten Islands in Norway showed what they actually do. They release bubbles. Small, deliberate exhalations. Around 11 of them per resting bout for whales hanging shallow, trimming buoyancy, holding the animal in place. Ballast control performed continuously by an animal that is asleep. What kind of nervous system runs a buoyancy correction while its owner is unconscious? Sperm whales do not only click to hunt, they click to each other. The social clicks are called codas, short patterned bursts, 3 to about 40 clicks long, with the information carried in the timing, not the pitch, the gaps. And they are not universal. Whales in the Eastern Caribbean use a repertoire that whales in the Pacific do not. Groups that share a dialect are called clans, and clans can overlap in the same ocean, using the same feeding grounds, and still not mix socially. They associate with whales who click like them. Calves are not born knowing their clan's repertoire. They babble, producing malformed codas for their first year or two, listening and adjusting until they get it right. The same trajectory a human infant follows learning speech. That is culture, in the strict sense. Behavior transmitted socially, varying between groups, persisting across generations. And in May of 2024, the picture got substantially bigger. A team from Project SETI, combining marine biology with machine learning, published in Nature Communications. An analysis of nearly 9,000 codas, recorded from around 60 individual whales in one Caribbean clan. The old model said there were roughly 21 coda types, a small vocabulary, a signaling system, essentially. What the analysis found instead was structure operating on 4 separate axes at once. Rhythm, the internal spacing of the clicks, 18 distinct types. Tempo, the overall length of the coda falling into 5 discrete categories rather than a smooth spread. Rubato, and this is the one that changes things. Whales in conversation gradually stretch and compress their coda durations, tracking each other over the course of an exchange. The term is borrowed from music. It describes expressive timing that shifts while the underlying pattern holds. Ornamentation, an extra click added at the end of a coda, appearing in about 4% of cases, clustered at the boundaries of conversational turns. Combine those 4 dimensions, and 21 types become at least 143 combinations that the whales actually use, and roughly double the information carried per coda. The researchers were careful. This is not proof of language. Nobody has translated a single coda. What it demonstrates is that sperm whale sound has combinatorial and contextual structure. Small elements combine into larger ones, and their form depends on what came before, which is a property of language and had not been shown outside humans in this form. We have been recording these animals for over 40 years, and we were hearing perhaps half of what was there. If a 40-year-old dataset was hiding that much, what is in the part we still cannot pass? It helps to know what is doing the talking. A sperm whale brain weighs about 17 pounds. A human brain weighs about 3. It is the largest brain that has ever existed on this planet, in any animal, at any point in history. The responsible caveat is that brain size does not scale cleanly to intelligence. Anyone who tells you a sperm whale is 6 times smarter than a person is not making an argument. They are making a sentence. But the structure is harder to dismiss. The cortex is more deeply folded than ours. Enormous regions are given over to processing sound, and in it, as in humans, great apes, and elephants, researchers have found economoneurons, large spindle-shaped cells linked in our own brains to social awareness and rapid emotional processing. Whales appear to have evolved them tens of millions of years before our lineage did, which means a large, socially complex, culturally transmitting intelligence developed in parallel with ours in a medium we cannot enter and has been running far longer. And we met it for the first time holding a harpoon. For most of recorded history, everything humans knew about sperm whales came from the surface, and all of it felt wrong. 18th century sailors called them sea devils, leviathans. Some believed they were the kraken from the old stories, coming up out of the abyss to take ships down. It is not hard to see why. Out of the fog, something surfaces that is longer than your ship, with a blunt, vertical wall of a forehead, exhaling a plume of vapor at an angle no other whale produces. You are not thinking mammal. The sounds made it worse. Crews reported loud, rhythmic knocking through the hull, an insistent hammering from somewhere below. Some thought they were being stalked. Some thought it was spirits. It was whales talking. Then, in November of 1820, the fear stopped being folklore. The Nantucket whale ship Essex was rammed in the South Pacific by a large male sperm whale. Not once, twice, the second time deliberately, head-on, at speed. The hull was stove in, and the ship went down. 20 men set out in 3 open boats across thousands of miles of ocean. 8 survived, and they survived by eating the dead. 3 decades later, a former whaleman named Herman Melville sat down and wrote Moby Dick, published in 1851. The white whale was never really fiction. It was a fear with a name. Fear of something enormous and deliberate that lived where we could not go and could still reach up and destroy us. But the Essex raises a question the sailors never thought to ask. What if the whale knew exactly what it was doing? Hold that, because there is a study that makes it much harder to wave away. Sperm whales became the most commercially valuable animals on Earth, not for meat, but for what was inside the head. Spermaceti oil, clear, almost odorless, unlike any other substance available. It did not smoke as it burned. It did not congeal in winter cold. It lubricated precision machinery better than anything then known and produced the cleanest, brightest lamplight in the world. It lit London. It lit New York. It was, functionally, the petroleum of its century. So the fleets went out, from Nantucket and New Bedford, on voyages lasting 3 and 4 years. Then, in 2021, Hal Whitehead, Luke Rendell, and Tim Smith published a study in the journal Biology Letters, based on newly digitized logbooks from American whalers working the North Pacific in the early 1800s. They tracked the strike rate, how often a hunt succeeded, across the first years that whalers entered virgin grounds, where the whales had never seen a human boat. The strike rate fell by 58% in roughly 2.5 years. That is far too fast to be genetic. Nothing evolves in 2 years. What the logbooks describe is a change in behavior. At first, the whales did what they do when killer whales attack. They gathered at the surface in a tight defensive ring, calves in the center, adults facing outward, slapping with their tails. Against orcas, this works. Against men in open boats with hand harpoons, it presented the entire group stationary at the surface. Within a few years, they stopped. They began scattering, diving, and running fast upwind, directly away from vessels that depended on sail. And it spread faster than experience could have. Whales in groups that had never been hunted were already using the new response. The information had moved sideways, socially, between families across an ocean. The same cultural machinery that carries coda dialects, running under pressure. Which means the whales were studying us at the same time we were studying them, and they figured it out first. By the time the killing peaked, it no longer mattered. Sail became steam. Hand harpoons became explosive. Harpoons fired from cannon. The best modern assessment puts 20th century industrial catches at over 760,000 sperm whales, and that figure excludes the entire open boat era before it. Sperm whales are among the slowest reproducing animals alive. Females mature at around 9 years. Pregnancy runs 14 to 16 months. one calf, then 5 to 7 years before the next. You cannot take 750,000 animals from a population like that and expect it to hold. The international moratorium took effect in 1986. Numbers have recovered somewhat, nowhere near what they were, and the species remains listed as endangered. Here is what makes the arithmetic worse, and it was not understood until long after the killing stopped. Sperm whales fertilize the ocean. They feed in the deep, where iron is locked away below the sunlit layer. They release waste at the surface, where plankton live, and plankton across vast regions of the ocean are limited by exactly one thing: available iron. A study published in 2010 in the Proceedings of the Royal Society B put numbers on it. Roughly 12,000 sperm whales in the Southern Ocean deposit about 50 tons of iron into the surface layer every year, driving around 400,000 tons of carbon down into the deep ocean, against the roughly 200,000 tons those same whales release by breathing. The population is a net carbon sink. Whales, as a group, take more out than they put in. And the study ran the counterfactual. Before whaling removed something like 90% of them, that same mechanism was pulling an estimated 2 million tons of carbon a year out of the atmosphere that is no longer being pulled. We did not just kill whales for lamp oil. We disabled a biological pump we did not know existed. Then, there is what happens when one of them dies. The carcass sinks. It arrives on the abyssal plain, a habitat so food-poor that most of what lives there is waiting, and it becomes a whale fall, an entire ecosystem self-assembling in the dark. First, the scavengers, sleeper sharks, hagfish, amphipods, stripping soft tissue over months. Then worms and crustaceans, working the enriched sediment. And then the longest phase, running for decades, as bacteria break down the fats locked inside the bones, feeding communities of the kind otherwise found only at deep-sea vents. Species have been described from whale falls that have never been found anywhere else. One animal's body can support a functioning ecosystem on the seafloor for half a century. Which forces a question you do not usually get to ask about a single species. How much of the deep ocean was built on the bodies of the whales we removed? So, baleen whales filter. Orcas hunt in coordinated groups. Dolphins are fast and social and clever. Sperm whales do something else entirely. They see with sound loud enough to be felt through a human rib cage. They sleep standing up and manage their own buoyancy while unconscious. They carry the largest brain that has ever existed, wired for a world we cannot perceive. They speak in a system we have been recording for 40 years and are only now beginning to pass. They learn to evade us faster than we learn to describe them, and they fertilize the surface of the sea, then, in death, seed the floor of it. We hunted them for 200 years and took 750,000 of them for the oil in their heads, and in all that time, we never once understood what we were looking at. And still, when a person goes into the water off Dominica or the Azores with no cage and no weapon and no defense of any kind, and a sperm whale comes over, It does not flee, and it does not attack. It stops. It turns its head, angling that vast acoustic lens, and it clicks, and the clicks pass through the diver's chest and return, and the whale reads the lungs, the ribs, the skeleton, the beating heart. It builds an image of a human being from the inside out. And then, very often, it simply stays there, watching, clicking, waiting. We have spent our entire history assuming that the intelligence worth finding was somewhere out there, above us, in the dark between stars. It may have been below us the whole time, half a mile down, in the pressure and the cold, holding its breath and talking. And it has been trying to work out what we are for a lot longer than we have been trying to work out what it is.